Welcome everyone to join our sexual harassment training for the youth and for the children protection. And this is a big thing in United States. In this session, I will be mainly speak English, but however, we have a Chinese translation. So if something you don't understand, you can read the Chinese translation. So first of all, we're going to make a definition. What is our sexual harassment? And this is a big thing in USA because no matter in a company, even California, they just regulate that since 2021, which is last year. All the company, if you have more than 5 employees, you have to give the training every single 2 years. So we can protect everyone together. So the definition of a sexual harassment is mean like unwelcome sexual advance, requests for sexual favor, or other verbally or physical or sexual nature up to including sexual assault constitute sexual harassment when there's a number one, submission to such conduct is made either directly or indirectly a condition of instruction, employment, or participation in other activities that relate to EFC. So second, submission to or rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for evaluation is making any decision affecting the individual. Or third, such conduct has the purpose of effect of unreasonable interfering with the individual performers or participation in employment-related or other activity. So this thing is not just for women. It can be for both men and women can be the victim of sexual harassment. So one person may be sexually harassing another person and not be aware of it because that can be, or in determine whether the alleged conduct constitutes sexual harassment, consideration should be given to a record as a whole and to the circumstance, including the context in which alleged conduct occurred. I know this is all professional terms, so we're going to go deeper exactly what is our EFC purpose, statement of the purpose. So here, our EFC statement of purpose. So EFC established the code of conduct to ensure a safe environment to allow the children and youth to freely participate in activity within the church. So all church co-worker, our worker, pastoral staff, or employee, all the volunteer, we will require you guys to sign the Child and Youth Protection Consent Form and promise to comply with the code of conduct. So the children and youth in the church will be protected from any unwanted abuse and negligence. So this is a professional term when we talk about abuse and negligence. And the church staff and volunteer will also be protected from being wrongfully accused. So we want to make sure we produce both parties. As you can hear in the news of this year in the SBC Southern Baptist Convention annual meeting, that is the one of the big news. So we need to work together to protect our children and protect our youth. At the same time, we want to protect our church pastor, staff, and volunteer from the wrongly accusation. So what kind of form? I believe some of you already signed this form. So if you sign this form, we will go contact you. So however, each one of us in a training, you need to sign one of the form annually. So there's one form we need you to sign annually after the training session. So next week, either me, our chairman, Jessica, will go give you the form, which is the one Child and Youth Protection Consent Form. We're going to give to you and sign again. So this is the form we need to sign annually. And there's another form for employee, our staff, we will sign every 2 years. So that's the things. Let's go over the rules, okay? So let's go over to our code of conduct, what it's really about. So code of conduct is mean we have couple 13 rules. So first one is two unrelated adult. So what's that mean? What two unrelated adult is like you guys cannot be within a family. So two unrelated adult fulfilling the duty of protection when it comes to protecting children. Wherever child are present, two unrelated adults must be present to ensure duty of protection. So we not just have one adult, we want to have two unrelated adults to be present. And number two, we want to make sure the place where the most of the children ensure the visibility of working place. So ministry with the children and youth ought to occur in highly visible area. This means utilize open space, classroom with a transparent window and avoid isolated area. So if there's some place, we want to make sure they see through. If you come to our church, there's a one, when you walk in, there's a one room, there's a curtain. We want to make sure, not hiding things, not everything hiding. You need to sometimes open the curtain to let people can see through. So number three, avoid one adult, one child situation. So that's similar to the number one. So what's that mean? Wherever there's one adult, one child, let's don't do that. Let's have a multiple people. So situation most abuse happened. That's when there's a one adult, one child, or one adult, one youth situation. And the conversation with the children or youth need to take in an open area. So you're not going to be in a hiding or closed area which nobody going to see. You want to be in open area which people can see. And all activity involve child and youth must have at least two unrelated adults to protect our children all time. So I'm going to go through the rules first, and we can, there will be a Q&A, there will be a question we can answer. And if you have any question, we can talk about it. So that is the number 3 rules. Let's look at number 4. Number 4 is very important because what is appropriate touch? Sometimes we know we need to touch, like to give them the encouragement to the children. And what's the appropriate touch? So appropriate touch refers to any behavior which is not cause the concern or uncomfortable. So touch should immediately cease if the child or the youth or bystander is in any way feel uncomfortable. So appropriate affection within the guideline, like verbal praise, like, oh, you're good, verbally we say you are great, that's okay. Or say hug, or shoulder to shoulder hug, or pat on the shoulder, or like a back or head, that's okay. But for small children, touching hand, shoulder, arm, hug, that's okay. But what is not okay? The following behavior between employee or volunteer and children are inappropriate. I guess most of you guys know what's inappropriate, right? You don't want to, and we need to stop doing that. Or if we see somebody doing that, we should stop doing that too. So touching, more close touching, or kissing, or tickling, or showing affection in isolated area, or sleeping in the bed, or flirter, or playing something sexual, such as game. So something let people not feel comfortable. Let's don't do that. So I would suggest the simple thing, sometimes verbally encouragement, or like shoulder, pat on the shoulder. That's more easy thing. So we don't put ourselves in a situation of inappropriate touch. Okay, so let's go down to the next one, number 5. So sometimes not just about the touching, about the word we use, also very important. Especially the child they grow up, they have their own thinking. So we are talking about appropriate speaking word. So words that harm or inappropriate verbal interaction, such as telling off the color, sexual joke, or making sexually suggest comment, or any inappropriate discussion, sexual encounter, or desire with the child or youth should be strictly prohibited. Adults should also avoid showing any negligence or favor or preferential treatment to particular child or youth. So which is mean sometimes we have to be fairly treat everyone. So all the volunteer, all the pastor, our staff, we have to fairly treat each child. And let's don't talk about any like color or sexual joke, anything. So let's keep our conversation, our word to be appropriate speech. So number 5, that's number 5. And number 6, we talk about corrective discipline. We understand sometimes there are the children are not easy to deal with, but how can we discipline them? So that's our Church of the Conduct, our EFC suggests us to do. Our church does not permit anyone other than his or her parents to conduct any physical punishment to a child or youth. Further discipline should never include yelling or shaming or any belittling a child or youth. If there's a serious incident that requires discipline, it is always wise to invite the parent to participate. Any bully will not be tolerant and should be reported to a parent and appropriate church pastoral staff. So belittling example can be like yelling or screaming at your, to get a reaction, or calling, for example, somebody, you don't want to say somebody, oh, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. So when we discipline the child, there's don't use any physical punishment. I know in some, maybe so for some culture or some people, they think it's okay, but our EFC, we don't consider that. So there's don't use any physical punishment. And if we are dealing with a challenge kids, let's talk to their parents or ask their parents to come help, to come tell the kids to stop doing that. So that's number 6. And let's go down to the number 7. So, right now we are live in this society, everyone use an electronic device. And so we need to monitor use of all the electronic device. Any employee or volunteer working with the children or youth is responsible to ensure that any technology is used appropriately. All pornography or any kind of sexual contact are strictly prohibited. Adults should refrain from developing any inappropriate personal intimate relationship with a child or youth, primarily over electronic media. This is not open communication channel. Any sexual conversation between adult and child over electronic media is abused and strictly prohibited. So what it's talking about is there can be a situation children is watching pornographic video or anything at the church or something that is not allowed, or any volunteer or any staff might be chatting something that's also not allowed. So we have to be careful for using the electronic device. So if you see anyone watch any pornography at the church with electronic device, let's stop it. Or telling let's talk to the leader or talk to the pastor or talk to the parents for them to come stop this action. So number 8, rule specific to bathroom. So this is more geared toward the children ministry. So adults should avoid taking a child to the bathroom alone. Elementary children should be sent to bathroom in a group of at least 2 or 3. If a child is potty training, any adult should ensure the bathroom is safe before allowing such small child to enter alone. Encourage the child to go on their own. If a child needs assistance, please ensure there's no one adult and one child policy. Remember the number 3, one adult. So make sure we not make ourselves go into one adult, one child situation. So when there's an assistance needed, it should allow respect the privacy of the child. So when there's a kids need to go bathroom, we suggest they go within a group. So within a group, and then there's don't let us to fall into one adult, one child situation. So that's number 8. Let's continue number 9 and 10 and 11. So number 9, rules specific to nursery management. We must ensure there are good visibility and endocrine staff and volunteer to supervise the nursery. We encourage women to change diapers, unless the man is the father of the child. When changing diaper, inform another nursery worker and change the diaper quickly. Diapers should only be changed in certain area where we can maintain the boundary of openness. So number 10, responsible supervision regularly. We suggest supervised should frankly stop in to observe the nursery, classroom, and other area where child and adult are together. So if you're the leader, supervisor should frankly stop by to observe the situation. So number 10. Number 11, this welcome parent. Besides we want the supervisor to visit, we also want the parents' involvement. So parents are responsible for knowing where their child are at all time. We encourage parents to drop by to observe any activity when their children are participating. Along with other adults, parents have a major role to play, keep their children safe. So we welcome parents to join and to actually to take a look what's happening. So parents' involvement is very important. Let's go over to the 12. In case something happened, how can we report? So, and who should we report? So number 12 is about report the boundary violation. So for the safety of all children in our care, we are all responsible to help ensure the boundary, which is code of conduct, the one we went through, are followed. When the boundary is crossed, so remember, if we are falling out of the boundary, so boundary violation report should be submitted to the senior pastor or chairperson. Our senior pastor and chairperson, chairperson is in our group here. So we would let her to say hi to everyone. So case can be reported and report boundary violation and attitude of resistance to boundary and danger boundary violation. So if you think anything has crossed the boundary, anything wrong, please report to our senior pastor and report to our chairman. So that's the situation. And now, in case if you see something serious happen when there's a child sexual abuse, what can we do about it? So when anyone has a reason to suspect or has knowledge of child abuse within the scope of church ministry, he or she should submit a report of suspected child sexual abuse report to senior pastor of the church within 24 hours. So anything you think something wrong with a child sexual abuse, we need to inform to our senior pastor right away within 24 hours. And then what can senior pastor do? The senior pastor will then report to the appropriate government department ASAP. So if the senior pastor is involved in this incident, what should we do? The third party should report to the chairman of the church council or the EFC General Assembly response staff right away. Whenever receive a report, should immediately report to the appropriate authority, which is a local government regulation. In USA, we view this child sexual abuse very seriously. So anything happened, we have to report, and you will fall into a criminal charges. So when we talk about children, what is the children about? So children means anybody under 12 years old, and the youth. What's the youth age? Usually we're talking. Youth is anybody at least 12 years old, but under 18 years old. However, there might be a person is 18 years old or higher, but he's still in a high school. So we can still consider it's a youth. So it will be 12 to 18 as a guideline. All right, so at this moment, I know I went through all these rules. We got to have everyone to answer this question for us. So it's a chance, we can answer to make sure you guys understand what we went through. So question 1, I want everyone, you can turn on your microphone or you can put in a chat about this answer. So you can turn on your microphone or chat. The question 1, can one adult along with the one child in an isolated place?
No.
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, bingo, you got a good answer. Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. So question 2, there's a room that is very dark and spooky. So it should be okay for the children to play over there since we don't have other room. Is that okay?
No.
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 So what should be, which room, what kind of room condition we should let the kids to be there?
Bright and
Quiet.
airy.
Yeah,
Open.
Open
Open.
area.
Open space.
yes, thank you, good answer. So question 3, we have an activity and you know, sometimes small church are short of staff. Can we have one adult to take care of 10 children alone?
No.
So what would be the good situation? Should
At
be,
least 2 adults.
yes. That's number 3. Number 4, so the child is doing a great job. So I can give him or her a verbal praise, side hug, and shoulder to praise her achievement.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Sometimes the best thing verbal praise, like, oh, you do a great job. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, awesome. So number 4. Number 5, the teen is a misbehavior. I was so angry with him or her. Can I yell into him and her and tell the teen to get out of the classroom?
No.
No.
So what should we do?
That the parents know or
Yes.
report to the pastor or staff.
Okay, good. Yeah, tell the parents, ask parents to come. Okay, question 6. I think this coworker is crossed the boundary or maybe abused the kids, but I don't want to report to a pastor because I don't know who's I just don't know, you know? So let me report to my friend. Is that okay?
No.
Okay, perfect. So besides report to pastor, who else we can report?
Chairperson.
So can we have our chairperson say hi?
Hi.
And I'm not sure Pastor Jeremy is here. Okay, no, that's okay. So if anything, we can report to our pastor or our chairman. So, all right, so that's the training. So can we, I think, actually now I need some volunteer to help me read this. So if it's okay, Nathan, can you read 1 to 6 for me? I'm not sure Nathan's microphone. How about this have
Sorry, hello, I'm here.
Okay, Nathan, can you read 1 to 6 for us to
Yes, of course.
refresh everything what we go through earlier?
Yes. So we have number 1, 2 unrelated adults. So 2 unrelated adults must be present to ensure the duty of protection. Number 2, ensuring the visibility of working place, utilizing open spaces, classrooms with transparent windows, and avoiding isolated areas. Number 3, avoiding 1 adult, 1 child youth situations. The conversation with children and youth need to take place in an open area. All activities involving children and youth must have at least 2 unrelated adults. Number 4, appropriate touch. Appropriate touch refers to any behavior which will not cause the concern. Touch should immediately cease if the child or youth or any bystander is in any way feeling uncomfortable. Number 5, appropriate speech and speaking words. Inappropriate verbal interactions such as telling off-color or sexual jokes, making sexually suggestive comments, or inappropriately discussing sexual encounters or desires with children or youth should be strictly prohibited. Adults shall also avoid showing negligence, favor, or preferential treatment to particular children or youth. Number 6, corrective discipline. Discipline should never include yelling, shaming, or in any way belittling a child or youth. It is always wise to invite the parent to participate. Any bullying will not be tolerated and should be reported to parents and appropriate church pastoral staff.
All right, so I will need another volunteer who want to read for us from 7 to 13. Anyone want to help us read for 7 to 13?
Karen will. I will do it.
Oh,
Cheryl,
Karen,
can you
sure,
hear me?
thank you.
Number 7, monitoring users of all electronic devices. Any employee or volunteer working with children or youth is responsible to ensure that any technology is used appropriately. All pornography and any other sexually explicit or suggestive content are strictly prohibited. Number 8, rules specific to bathroom. Adults should avoid taking a child to the bathroom alone. Elementary children should be sent to the bathroom in groups of at least 2 or 3. Please ensure there is no one adult, one child situation. Number 9, rules specified to nursery management. We must ensure there are good visibility and adequate staff and volunteers to supervise the nursery. Number 10, responsible supervision regularly. Supervisors shall frequently stop in to observe the nursery, classroom, and other areas where children and adults are together. Number 11, welcoming parental involvement. Encourage parents to drop by to observe any activity in which their children are participating. Number 12, reporting boundary violations. Help ensure the boundaries, code of conduct are followed. When a boundary is crossed, boundary violation report, attachment 2, should be submitted to the senior pastor or the chairperson. Number 13, reporting child sexual abuse. When anyone has reason to suspect or has knowledge of child abuse within the scope of the church's ministry, he or she must submit a report of suspected child or youth sexual abuse, which is attachment 3, report to senior pastor of the church within a period of 24 hours. Children that is under 12 years old or youth that is 12 to 18 years old or above 18 are still in high school.
Thank you, Miss Karen. So
You're
later
welcome.
on, so this is a phone. Actually, thank you for joining our training. And now you've been remember all these special rules, code of conduct. So next week, we will have you to sign some form, which is our protection consign form. And there's a video I will not present right now. I'm going to send those video link unless anyone who want to stay for watching video. It probably like 20 minutes, but I think it would be like, it's similar as what we went through. So it will be the video. I'm going to send you the link and you can watch the video. And there's a graphic showing how we can prevent youth and child sexual abusement.
Children are so precious to us. They are our present, our future. That's why causing harm to a minor, whether a child, tween, or teen, is such an unthinkable crime. One of the most troubling facts is that abuse often takes place in situations both children and adults consider safe. Places like worship centers, schools, and camps. We must face the reality that there is no place immune to manipulative people who take away the innocence of our children. In fact, some of the places we think are the safest are actually the most vulnerable. That's because abusers prey on that vulnerability, taking time to earn the trust of others to get what they want. It can happen anywhere, anytime, and any place, even in the smallest, most tightly knit communities. Just like the time a deacon, a trusted community leader, was arrested for allegedly showing pornography to young boys on a weekend campout, or when a member of a congregation in a suburban community repeatedly molested a girl when he gave her a ride home from choir practice, or when a 14-year-old Sunday school volunteer took 3- and 4-year-old children to a private room to teach Bible verses where he would sexually molest them.
These are brief descriptions of actual claims seen by Church Mutual. You might think there's no way you could find yourself in this type of situation, But that's the exact type of thinking these policyholders had before they were faced with a lawsuit. I'm Todd Smith, an attorney with the law firm of Godfrey & Kahn in Madison, Wisconsin, and I deal with sexual abuse cases much like these. And in every circumstance, the policyholder was shocked that it happened to them. Many organizations never recover from these crimes because of the emotional, legal, and financial devastation that occurs. But that doesn't have to be you. There are steps that you can take to help minimize the risk of this type of unthinkable crime from happening under your watch. In this video, we'll help you understand what abuse is and the different categories that victims and their abusers fall into, specifically adult to minor abuse and a type of abuse that's growing rapidly, minor to minor abuse. Within each category, we'll help you understand what you can do to help prevent it, and there is much you can do, so let's get started. When one thinks of child abuse, the first thing that often comes to mind is a situation where an adult abuses a child or youth. Adult to minor abuse occurs when a minor is used for the sexual stimulation of the adult or other person. The exact definition varies by state, but there are two types. Touching, when physical contact is made, and non-touching, which includes using inappropriate language, either verbal or written, or exposing the child to inappropriate images. This can include comments and pictures on websites and social media, as well as emails and texts. Faith-based organizations like this one are particularly vulnerable to abusers. That's because the people here inherently want to trust others and see the good in people. But here's a fact. Serial sexual abusers know that. They're opportunistic and will depend on that. They understand that you rely on volunteers and that you might be uncomfortable asking them questions that seem intrusive and embarrassing. Abusers are master manipulators, and it's up to you to seek them out and stop them. Here's what you can do.
Screen your employees and volunteers. Effective screening diverts criminals and helps block convicted sex offenders. It is not unusual for a person who has been terminated at one worship center, school, or camp to seek employment or a volunteer position at another. While you should check with an attorney who can advise you of state laws about what can and cannot be used in the selection process, here are some best practices. All candidates should complete an application which includes the addresses of the applicant's current as well as previous residences, information about current and former jobs, including addresses, the dates of employment, titles held with a description of corresponding duties, and the reason for leaving. Education information, including addresses for the schools that were attended and degrees that were earned. References from employers and organizations that serve children. And, where allowable by state law, information about pending criminal charges or any criminal history. During your initial interview, have an associate participate. Get a second impression. Review all the statements on the application and ask about lapses in employment or reluctance to name a reference. After the interview, contact all references and former employers. If you can't connect with them by phone, follow up with a written request. Prepare a written summary of all comments, even if they are just confirmation of dates of employment, and keep those responses in the interview file. Then, have a follow-up interview with the applicant to discuss discrepancies. Do not extend an offer to applicants with unexplained gaps. In addition to checking references, conduct a background check. It should include Social Security verification, a national criminal search, a state criminal search, a county criminal search, and a sexual offender search. Another effective prevention tactic is ensuring all employees and volunteers are properly supervised at all times. Install windows in interior walls of classrooms, and make sure doors are kept open. Do not cover the windows with decorations or artwork that block the view into a room. Require that activities be conducted in an open area or room, not a private office. Periodically inspect classrooms, offices, workplaces, and other areas where minors and adults are together to monitor for inappropriate situations. Also, check bathrooms, closets, and other areas. Require that any activities involving children or youths have a minimum of 2 adults present at all times, preferably unrelated. Minors should never be alone one-on-one with an adult. Youth group activities, such as mission trips, lock-ins, and other sleepaway events, create many opportunities for abuse to take place. Even older teens should always have the supervision of at least 2 adults. During sleeping situations, girls should be supervised by female adults, and boys should be supervised by male adults. One instance in which supervision is often lacking is in vehicles, especially vans and school-type buses in which activity is difficult to monitor. In this instance, be sure you have 2 adults actively supervising activity throughout the vehicle. You are accountable for children and youths from the time they arrive at your event until the time they leave. Sometimes abuse can happen before or after those events. This problem is more pronounced with youths, who sometimes tell their parents they will attend an event, but instead do something else with their friends that put them in an abuse-prone situation. Keeping check-in and check-out records can help prevent you from being liable if this should occur beyond your control. Make sure the parent or guardian of each and every minor signs his or her child or youth in upon drop-off and out upon pickup. Consider having a system in place for relatives who have permission to pick up a child. Helping prevent abuse is the responsibility of everyone in your organization, and proper training is key. Sharing this video with every adult within your organization, regardless of whether they work directly with children, is a good start. Training should occur annually, and records of who received training should be kept. It should include supervisory rules and adult-to-minor ratios. For best practices, check with your local public school district. Physical contact guidelines. For example, if you're going to hug minors, only hug sideways. Holding hands is fine, but only if the child is younger than 5 years old. And if touching a minor, only touch him or her on the arm, shoulder, or upper back. Never, ever anywhere that would be covered by a swimsuit. Training also should include guidelines regarding the transportation of children, specifying when and where offers are acceptable and by whom. As a general rule, no adult should ever be alone or unsupervised with a minor in a vehicle. Digital communications guidelines should be a critical part of your training. Digital media, including but not limited to emails, text messages, websites, social media, and apps, provide new opportunities for abusers to share pornographic materials and to carry out inappropriate relationships with minors long after organized and supervised activities occur. The content itself isn't always specific. In fact, it can seem innocent, but it's actually part of a grooming process used to gain trust or to set up in-person meetings. Here are some zero-tolerance policies to keep in mind. No adult, under any circumstance, should communicate one-on-one with a minor. Communications should be happening through the minor's parents or guardians. If communication must occur, other trained adults should be copied on the messages. Becoming friends on social media is common among youths, but adults should avoid such relationships. An appropriate way to stay connected with youths over social media is with an organization-wide presence. Again, no private messaging using these types of media should occur. Parents of children and youths should be made aware of this type of abuse and monitor their children's accounts appropriately. Training also should include information about what to look for to help you identify abuse that could be happening and how to report that. We'll cover that a bit later in the video. All of this information should be included in a written code of conduct, distributed as part of your training. Each and every employee and volunteer should read and sign the code of conduct. A copy of the signature should be kept on file. Parents should know about the code so they are on alert, and so they know you are as well. So, what should you do if a known sex offender joins your organization? This is a very real possibility, especially for religious organizations. While forgiveness may be a tenet of your faith, it is essential to follow certain precautions in order to protect children and youths. For one, be sure that attending services isn't in violation of their parole. In some instances, it is. If the person is legally permitted to attend services, establish a mentor or buddy system in which a trusted member of your congregation attends all services and events with the offender. You should also discuss the situation with your local attorney, as laws vary from state to state. And lastly, ask your insurance company if it has any special requirements when a known sex offender is in the presence of children or youths.
Earlier, I mentioned that minor-to-minor abuse is a growing area of concern, one that you must address. After all, adults aren't the only people who can cause harm to children or youths, and it's not just older teens who prey on younger children or their peers. We've also seen cases where children as young as 4 have been accused of exposing themselves to others. In fact, minor-to-minor abuse is increasing and accounts for roughly 25% of the claims Church Mutual handles. Many of the same prevention measures discussed previously apply, but here are a few of the differences. Screening is a bit more difficult with minors. They do not have the same work and volunteer history that adults have. You also cannot do criminal checks on minors because juvenile records are sealed. Nonetheless, minors should go through an application process which includes references, relevant classes or courses such as babysitting or CPR, any relevant volunteer experience and information about extracurricular activities such as Girl Scouts, Little League, or any other social service and sports participation. A formal interview also should be conducted. As a general rule, volunteers in charge of supervising other youths and children should not be younger than the age of 16. In fact, the older the better. And if you or anyone in your organization has personal knowledge that an applicant or existing volunteer has prior accusations or convictions related to sexual behavior or violence, that person should not be considered any further. In most cases, abuse happens among minors when there's inadequate supervision. Just as an adult should never be left alone with a child, minors should never be left alone together, even in a case where an older youth is babysitting. Here are some actual situations in which abuse occurred when a youth or child wasn't properly supervised.
A mother noticed strange markings on her baby when changing a diaper after the child had been in the church's nursery, which was supervised by youth volunteers. While traveling to a youth activity, a 16-year-old boy enticed a 13-year-old girl to perform lewd acts in the backseat of a church-owned van. The only adult in the van was the driver. During an overnight lock-in at a church, a 15-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl snuck away from the group. Subsequently, the girl claimed she was raped.
To help avoid these types of abuses from occurring, remember the rule of 2. Always have 2 adults present wherever there are minors. Finally, just like adults, youth volunteers must go through an annual training and adhere to a written code of conduct. We're now going to talk a bit about how to spot abuse that might be happening and what you should do if you suspect something.
Here are some signs that abuse could be or already is taking place. Watch for volunteers or employees who might be spending one-on-one time with children or youths, either as part of your activities or outside your activities. This should never occur. Watch for volunteers or employees who seem to prefer spending time with younger children rather than their peers. Watch for excessive physical contact, whether it's appropriate or inappropriate. And keep a lookout for the following behaviors among children or youths, as they might indicate abuse. Watch for isolation, depression, or loneliness. Notice if there is an unwillingness to change clothes for gym or other activities. Watch for withdrawal, fantasy, or infantile behavior, as well as bizarre, sophisticated, or unusual sexual behavior or knowledge. Also, keep a lookout for poor peer relationships and delinquency, or a propensity for running away.
If you see something, you must say something. All states have mandatory reporting statutes, and in most cases, clergy are included in the list of people who are mandatory reporters. so get an understanding of your local law so you know what to do. There might be exceptions based on clergy penitent privilege, so if you're unsure of your duty to report, be sure to consult with your local attorney. You can also visit childwelfare.gov to learn more about the state statutes specific to your location. Failure to report when the law requires you to do so is a crime for which you could be charged and arrested. In order to accommodate reporting, appoint an adult leader to be the contact person for anyone who might need to report abuse. You should also appoint a backup person in case the main contact is the one suspected of abuse. Reporting procedures should be outlined in your written code of conduct and should include the following steps. First, notify the authorities immediately. If you have any questions about your reporting duties under state law, consult with an attorney. As soon as you become aware of an allegation of sexual misconduct, notify your liability insurance carrier. Be sure to get approval from the police before speaking with an accused adult or minor, or with an alleged victim. The police will likely want to conduct their own interviews first. An accused employee or volunteer should be suspended until the investigation is complete and should not be permitted to enter your church or facility. Employees should be suspended with pay, and lastly, be sure you're following any additional written policies you have when an allegation is made. Abuse to a child or youth, for most of us, is an unthinkable crime. But the fact is, if we turn a blind eye to it, we are a partner in the crime. For the sake of children and youths, as well as the health of your organization, please take these tips seriously. For even more information, Church Mutual offers free resources to its policyholders, such as a sample child and youth abuse prevention program and a comprehensive booklet titled Safety Tips on a Sensitive Subject, Child Sexual Abuse. They are available online at www.churchmutual.com. Please take advantage of these resources and incorporate them into your policies and procedures.
I'm Mike Ravin. Causing harm to a child is a truly unthinkable crime. Yet it happens every day, even in the most sacred of places. Together, we can do something to help protect the innocence of our children. I hope you'll take these recommendations to heart and use them to protect not only children and youths, but also the trust and confidence of your community. Thank you for your time and attention and for your commitment to doing all you can to protect your people.
Church Mutual Insurance Company offers brochures, videos, newsletters, posters, and checklists to help make your organization and activities safer for everyone involved. They are available to our policyholders at no charge. For a full list of materials, visit www.churchmutual.com.